Morning, all.
How we doing?
You know, pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Jeannie Dougherty.
I'm great.
Yeah.
I know. Please just jump in. It's super casual. Do not feel like you have to do anything or wait to be prompt.
Thank you for joining.
I'm so glad you invited me, Matt. It was absolutely synchronistic that you and I had a great connection.
And you know what's fun about this conversation is we have really taken extreme liberty with the term health, right? And
she
like
has a counseling degree. That's health.
But yeah, you're nibbling away at it here, right? Like when I was talking, we met at a networking group, right? Mm-hmm. And we were just talking, and somewhere in the middle of that conversation, I was like, there is something very health-like about this conversation, and I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I was kind of like, this could be an interesting conversation. And then when we got into the money thing a little bit more, right, it was like, what's a huge cause of, we had a guest on about divorce.
Sure.
Number 1 and 2 cause of divorce, depending on who you're talking about, is sex and money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is, divorce has a huge impact on health. Suicide, a lot of money related suicides out there, so you kind of look at it and you're like, well, it's not like I would really go out of my way and say, the first thing that pops in my mind when somebody says health is money. But when you're talking about it in a more inclusive sphere, money certainly should be rolled into that, right?
When you're talking about it in a capitalistic society.
Oh, and by the way, we live in a capitalist society. So what the fuck?
Yeah. You're not going to get away from it.
So I love this conversation's potential because it's sort of, it is definitely health related insofar as it can affect our health outcomes, but it's not our down the middle health conversation where we're like, all right, what gadget do I stick up my nose and test my blood? And all, it's not that
or what do I have to be doing to get 8 more hours of sleep a night or something?
Yeah. Right. So it's cool. I'm excited. It's nice to mix it up a little bit. So
Yeah. So okay. I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I kind of got started in my lane, if you will. Long story short, the health piece started my money journey. So both of my parents died from Alzheimer's, and they were statistical anomalies, meaning we had no family history whatsoever. And they died fairly young of the disease. I was 17 when my dad started showing signs and symptoms.
Oh, man.
So it was just a very different adolescence going into college. It was a very different experience. So what I learned after my father died, he passed away first. My parents were divorced. They died in 2 separate states. Was that there was enormous amount of fighting about my father's obviously worth, like what was left over, our stuff. And he actually had an ironclad will and estate plan, which was very smart. They call it, legally irrevocable trust. Sorry, got it right. Second time. So, it was kind of like everything was set in stone and we kind of knew stuff was going to happen. And that worked out, actually. It was still frustrating in some areas. My stepmother did make some good financial decisions, which did impact us. But overall, it worked out. It was achievable. But when my mother died, she did not have an ironclad will. And it was only with her death that we were able to confirm what we had been fighting about for the years that she had been sick, which was what's going on with her care. I don't think you're spending enough money on what she needs. Why didn't you tell me that she has Alzheimer's? I had to actually fly out there and I pulled out the bottle of Aricept, which is a medication for Alzheimer's. It, by the way, did not work for either of my parents. So I'm not against the medication at all. I'm just saying it did not work.
Right.
So it was just a really awful, painful, financial, terrible outcome for my mother. Because when she died, we realized that the entire state had been wiped clean by another family member who lied repeatedly. And it was like, lie here, lie there, lie here. It was everywhere. what really kind of set the tone for me was my mother finally passed away. Her wishes, because we kept bringing it up, why aren't you going to bury her in Valley Forge next to her mother and her son, my brother, who passed away years before I was born? And it was like they didn't really want to do that, so we kind of had to like put our foot down, and then they decided to do it. So I went up after my mother had been buried, and I went up there. I was on a Sunday. I was there in literally Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, walking through the graveyard, and I cannot find my mother. I'm walking everywhere. I'm walking, and then it becomes running, and I'm crying, and people are quietly coming in and paying their respects. And I'm like, I better not scream. I better not yell. Like that would be something my mother would never want me to do. And as I'm running through this graveyard, I cannot find my mother. I am texting friends, because I don't want to get on the phone and start screaming. I don't know where my mother is. I can't find her. I found my grandmother. I found my grandfather. I found my brother. I cannot find my mother. She's supposed to be here. The office is closed. There's nothing I can do. So I called on Monday to the cemetery and I said, hello, I'm her daughter. Was she buried? Like, because again, it was like another lie. And they said, oh, yeah. But this person who had the money in control of the funds refused to do a headstone or any type of marker.
So she's just buried under the grass somewhere.
Yeah, in an unmarked grave.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
Was this like, I have to ask, I'm so sorry, but like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah, like how
like,
are they?
What the fuck is going on?
Why were they in charge of her care?
Like, what the hell?
These were her wishes, and it was supposed to be a collaborative process with the three of us because she had three daughters, which was I was supposed to be one of them. That never happened. And the reason for that is the way the will and estate was written was that this person was in charge, and therefore they and we learned this, of course, after she died, that they had what's known as a long con. So they intentionally delayed diagnosis when we kept, hey, she doesn't seem right. Something's wrong. So they actually just took all the money before she was diagnosed.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's why there was no money to actually get she already had a plot free, like that was already paid for years ago. Yeah. Otherwise she would have been just left in some urn somewhere. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's a fucking fucked up story, man.
Not the lightest way to start a Friday morning.
How's your mental health, guys? How's it feeling?
Well, you know what? It not related to this, but like that, what triggers a nerve here is I hate family like issues like this. It drives me crazy. One of my best friends in the world is a trust and estates person in California, and it's a fucking nightmare. Like every single story is awful. Like it's really just like one of these things. I have another friend who's in high net worth wealth management. Every story is awful. Yeah. Like it's like there is no version. And it's so universally awful that I'm like, you almost never want to make money in your life because you're like, if you have anything to fight over, this is what happens. It's terrible. Like every direction is bad. So when I see this kind of shit happening, it makes me absolutely bonkers. Like I have like a visceral sort of like roll up my sleeves, and who's got something heavy, I will fly to wherever that person is at, and we will take care of this the old fashioned way. Like it makes me crazy. Anyway, I digress, but
that's such a rough thing, and at the worst fucking possible time too. It's emotions are high, and you're finding all this out years later, and not to make you relive it, but that means that your mom didn't get the care she needed. That means that somebody took advantage that was supposed to be a trusting, loved family member. Right. And God damn it, man.
So
sorry.
So like when this kind of stuff happens, I know in other cases, and I know we're talking about, financial health here. So
sure.
But like when you sort of tick and tally what actually happened, I mean, at this point, there's really nothing you can do to this family member, right? They've got all the money. They did all the things.
Well, they already spent it all. So we couldn't even recover it. Right. So we did go to court. We did litigate, and we lost because there was nothing left.
Right.
I distinctly remember the phone call I had with my attorney Monday morning before I called the cemetery, crying, saying, you don't understand. I can't find my mother. You have to call their attorney. And they did. And the attorney was like, let me call my client. And so then they called, and then they were like, well, I don't know what happened. I buried them. Yeah, but where's the marker? Where's the headstone? That was all supposed to be taken care of. Oh, don't have any money.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck that person very much, right? Like that just that sucks. Yeah, man. Okay. Keep going. That sucks.
So here's where I want to say there's some good news about health and your money. So in the process of doing the litigation and, grieving the loss of my mother and still my dad, I went to dance classes, and I was in dance classes for like 2 years. So this is after the whole incident in the cemetery. I was like in dance classes because I needed a place where I could just, not have to hear any more words. Like there have been so many lies, and I needed a place of peace. So the way that I could do that is through a moving meditation, which was dance classes. So when I did that, I was much better and happier. And I walked in one day to my dance class, and what do you know? There was a flyer on the wall about dance and money. And I was like, I should totally go. Well, I mean, like, I thought
my head goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of people making a lot of money dancing.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God, Jeannie, you could become a stripper. You're right, Tom. I could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put myself through grad school like that. No.
I was already out of grad school. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I went to the workshop, and it was actually like 4 days. It was like 2.5 hours away. It was like a commitment. And I went, and it was like eye-opening. I suddenly understood why so many family members either sided with this person or, believe the lies, all this other stuff. And I was like, okay. And so it was just really like, it gave me a place to be seen and valued for what had happened and not blamed. And it was really nice because when I would try to explain this to other people, they'd be like, well, Jeannie, weren't you more involved in their care? And you're like, it's really hard when you've got a sociopath who's lying to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And since you've never had that experience, I feel bad for you.
And it's not like
have
your
any
first,
real life. Yeah.
It's not like your first like order of assumption either. You're not like, okay, this is like presumably somebody so you're not going to be like, oh yeah,
Well, it was somebody that my mother trusted and my mother wanted.
Yeah, and that sucks.
Yeah, and it was a decision that was not what I wanted. And when I look back now, I would have had to completely walk her into an attorney at my expense, rewrite the entire will, and then I would have to make, like all the bank accounts would have to be in my name and all this other stuff. But that
seems like it was like a day late and a couple bucks short.
Well, it's what I didn't want. I didn't want to be that controlling.
Well, not only that, but if she siphoned it or this person siphoned it off beforehand, it was
that's what I'm saying.
By the time you would have figured it out, it would have been
too late. Yeah,
it would have been too late. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I was like, I never wanted this to happen. So I was like, oh, this is important. But after I went to the dance class in the workshop, I finally met an emotional behavioral money coach, which is eventually what I became because how we feel and think about money matters more than anything else when it comes to our health. It will make decisions on whether we get care. Doesn't matter what your health issue is, what you're going to choose, how you're going to choose it, and all these other things. Like this is a little separate side issue, but my dog, she passed away when she was 12 years old of cancer, and she was a lab, and I knew it was her time to go. And I kept getting hammered by the vet's office, but don't you want to start chemo? And I was like, she's already at stage 4. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, you're going to put her through something. Yeah.
Let's make her comfortable. She's 12. I said, it'd be different if she was like 8 or 6. I said, but no. And they were just like, are you sure? And I was like, see, I've already gone down this road of being questioned for my financial and medical decisions. And I was like, I'm not scared of you. You don't shake me. Mm-hmm.
It's so sketchy, but at the same time, this is also one of those hard problems to understand because on one side I own a business and I got to, we all have to eat. So but the joke on my side is I've talked myself out of more business than I've made in my career because I just can't take somebody's money for no reason, right? Like it can't just be okay, somebody actually, my grandmother, by the way, died of Alzheimer's as well.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
She was in her 90s. So, it was a different story, it sounds like, but she had, and don't quote me on this because I can't remember, but she either fell or something and had to have there was some brain trauma there, nothing crazy, but they were like, can we get in and do some surgery? And my dad's like, she's like 95 years old, 96 years old with all like advanced Alzheimer's. Are you fucking crazy? Why would I ever say yes to, but her quality of life and this and that and the other. And it was a whole thing. And my dad kind of got tripped up over it. He was like, well, fuck, should I? Like, and we're all like,
almost
no.
like they're hanging it over your head.
Yeah, like, no, dude, that makes no fucking sense. It's tragic. Trust me. Listen, nobody wants to send grandma off to the farm, but at the same time, like, what are you going to put a 95-year-old woman with advanced Alzheimer's through a very invasive
brain surgery, which
and the recovery would be worse than the actual disease process.
But guess what? If she dies on the table, the surgeon still gets their $100,000 for the surgery.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, like, and that's like what my brain is thinking. I'm like, Dad, don't do this. This is fucking, this guy is the medical system talking to you, not reality or not rationality, not common sense for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
So I developed my sort of my money chops, if you will, in dance classes, as well as actually going to money coaching school. And I was like, I really think I want to do this after sort of taking those, like working with an emotional behavioral money coach for a year. And what I realized, which was, I think, maybe clever marketing, but I didn't get it at first, was that I talk about people's money brains instead of like your money. And so I have sparked more interest and intrigue because people are less likely to fight with me, because people fight over money over anything. It doesn't matter the amount, doesn't matter what it's about. Like we just gave examples of our loved ones and our pets, and you know, people will go to the mat for that stuff. But you talk about your money brain, people are like, what's that?
Yeah.
How's that work? How do I, what? Like they're just suddenly more interested. Yeah. And we all have one. And of course, if you go to a neurologist, just so this is a health show, they will say your whole brain works with money. And that's true. But when I talk about the emotional behavioral rewire, I talk about the left side versus the right side. So the left side is what we all learn, which is it's the logic, it's the data, but it's also a lot of fear and survival and worry, because that's how a lot of us have learned. It is on the right side that we have more creativity with money. We can navigate with it. We can get curious if we have a problem, and we can have more empathy, because we need to, you know, forgive ourselves when we do make a money mistake. Sometimes we have to forgive other people when they make money mistakes. One of the number one cause of debt is often you're angry at somebody. You haven't forgiven them. Is it yourself or someone else? Or is it like a long list? And people don't like that, you know, like I'm sure they like to like reach through, you know, my computer right now and grab me by the throat. But the truth is, if you are still holding on to, but you don't understand this is what they did to me, I think we all can get that life can be very hard and unpredictable, but it's what you're able to transform is what really is going to make your life better. And you'll have a healthier life and a better quality of life.
And you know what? I got to imagine, and I loved your reflection on this, but like we talk to a lot of people and deal with a lot of people, I think, in our orbit outside of the show.
Sure.
When we talk to them about anything that we talk about on the show, anything at all, from vibrational therapy, you know, all crazy shit. The number one thing when you hit a nerve with somebody is some kind of a absurd pushback. Like it's some kind of one guy was like, oh, you lost all this weight, so what, are you going to never eat bread again? I'm like, what? like, you know, like it's just like absurd pushback. And that's on thing, because it's, again, I think it's a reflection of that thing in their self that they don't want to acknowledge. And that's how it's presenting. And I kind of imagine in money, it's like 10x, right? Like, is that actually true? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So I had a conversation fairly recently with another business owner, and I was just sort of talking to him a little bit about what I do and things like that. And they had just gotten off the phone with their lawyer as they were renegotiating child support with their ex. And let me tell you, they were one hot piece of, you know, of just anger. And I was like, I'm really sorry. You know, would you like to reschedule this? Like, you know, no, we're going to do this. And I was just like, yeah. Okay.
Right.
You might need a minute, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when, you know, so much of, at least in the West, definitely in America for sure, I think a lot of our self-worth is derived from our checking account, right? Like, and I feel like
that's exactly how we're programmed.
Right.
Yeah. That's left side.
Yeah.
And so if you challenge anybody's brain or money brain, as you're calling it, right? Like, and you do hit a nerve, I got to imagine people viscerally push back. What?
You know, most people are pretty curious and most people are pretty receptive. The people who are not, I find, are guys who are really behind the ball, as I say, which is it's like certain kinds of wealth managers who are looking for a specific type of client so they can make money. You know, off of this person. Like you just gave the example, you want the surgeon that still wants to get paid $100,000 for a high risk surgery. Okay.
Right.
And, you know, and it's certain financial planners that, you know, they're not maybe the Bernie Madoff, you know, like to that level of scamming, but they you know, they want to have a lot of really good clients and they want to just have the wealthiest.
Well, because their system falls apart if people aren't driven to make more money. All right. So even, you know, even they have to be driven to make more money because that's, and I like how you're not saying it's not a grift, but we're getting close. You know, like I'm making decisions for you based on how much money I make.
Right.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And so it's not, I'm not saying it's terrible or anything like that, but many financial planners and advisors are completely broke, and that is not shared enough in our world, and it should be.
That's
why
interesting.
are they? Why are they broke? It's because
why?
Yeah, because either they have a lot of clients that don't want to do more than say maybe a life insurance thing, or maybe they don't sell it, so they have to refer out, or maybe it's something else. You know, because there's all different levels of like financial planning that you can do. And like for some people, I'm just sort of like, okay, you know, really, this is about sales. And it's sales is either going to be experiential and hopefully warm, or it's going to be by the numbers. And, you know, what a lot of them have told me is that if the man walks in the like, we'll just use heteronormative, you know, typical stereotypical relationship. If the man walks in and says, I want this done with the money, and the wife is like, okay, I don't even understand this, then that's what they're going to do. And it's not to say the woman won't ever have money, but she may not understand the money, the complexity, and that's what they're supposed to be there for, but then they won't help her when she really needs help. So that was something I noticed when I was married, that my husband wanted a particular financial planner, but they couldn't really do what we needed. And so when I said, hey, I don't think this is a good person, they were like, well, my mother and father recommended them and we can't get out. And it was like, great.
Yeah, we've had those kinds of relationships as well, and they're tough. But again, that's like, I think the older I get and the more conversations like this I have, the more easily I can go, yeah, you know what? This is a construct of your mind, not mine. So let's,
but
you know.
and I love that level of family issues too, right? Where it's like, you know, people, why are you Republican? Because my parents were. Right. Why are you Christian? Because my parents were. And every decision that they make is because somebody told them. And not that they're looking at it in their best interest. And that doesn't mean you don't come to those same conclusions. It just means that you've never questioned it past mom and dad did this, my grandparents did this, this is what I do. You know, and I think it's you know, Matt and I have the vantage point of having these conversations with these very non-linear thinkers who've all somehow broken out of that mold. But you can see it having a hold on the majority of this country at the very least. Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, one of the hardest things I noticed in my family was how do you say goodbye to somebody that wasn't a good person? Like how do you? And so I am a person who's like all about the truth and the facts. So if this person was a good provider and that was a fact, like they took care of the house, they did all these things, that's a fact. You can be thankful and grateful for that. If they also abused your children, that needs to be mentioned.
Right. Needs to be brought into the equation. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And you can have conflicted feelings and be honest about that, because I think then people would respect you more for understanding that you have conflicted feelings. But what happens is there's somebody who walks in and is like, you know, the emotional police. We cannot feel this way. We only can feel this way. And well, that's not what they said. That's not what they did. Yeah. We have video of it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. unfortunately, that behavior has been normalized.
You're kind of talking a little bit more globally now than just about family stuff.
But it's where does this stuff start? Where does the stuff
exactly
it starts
in the household? Yeah.
And then it impacts not only our personal mental health, like, collectively what's going on in your own family, then we get into community, and then we get into how do we write policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it keeps morphing in all kinds of directions. And, speaking of things that are happening, we still don't always know exactly the full story. And, but if we're quick and to rush to judgment, which happens many times in families, it's often done to whitewash the fact that this person might not have been as good. And it's like, why would you want to do that? Because then they would have to be held accountable. That's
and I think not enough people. It's funny. I was on a call yesterday with a woman who described something that I feel and a lot, and we're talking about it right now. She's like, too many people are stuck in the mosh pit and no one goes to the mezzanine to take a look at what's actually happening. And I said, fucking great way to put that, man. Like, it's like, she's like, it's very exciting in the mosh pit. It's close to the stage. You can see all the action. You can get,
you can move around, you can punch, you can get.
It's crazy. But like, if you actually want to know what the fuck is happening, you need to be upstairs and looking down on that chaos to be like, oh, I see what's happening. Right. Like, and I never really thought of it that way, but like, that really is a thing that is becoming further and further in our collective rear view mirrors. Like, people just don't have the desire to go upstairs. They're like, it's fine right here. This chaos is okay. This is normal. Like, everything's fine.
Until the pain gets to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then, and I love your reflection on this, but then the problem is the opposite, right? Now the pain comes, but you don't have the emotional lattice work to deal with it. You don't have the educational lattice work to even understand it. And then you make emotionally charged, irrational decisions that are completely void of common sense or literacy of any kind. You just like, oh, this hurts, so I'm going to do the thing that doesn't hurt. But that might actually be worse. But you wouldn't even know that until you actually made yet another mistake, right? Is that, I mean, I
also think people double down on things too. Well, if that can't be wrong, because I can't be wrong, and then I'm going to double and triple down on that same sentiment,
What I think everybody wants, and it's how everybody goes about it is the trick. But everybody wants love, they want acceptance, they want approval. Money is part of that equation. Because again, we learn that in families. But I honestly think when their world blows up and, they find out things are not what they thought they were, they are still looking for like, well, who's got an answer or who could help me? It's always person. It's not like ideal or thought. So I think sometimes, as bad as it is in the mosh pit, it's good when it hurts too much, because then you have this opportunity to change. And that was really sort of my calling, was that I decided to make major changes in my life, but I was also going to make major changes for other people. I was going to impact other people in a very different way, instead of going along with the medical model of life and assuming that that's it, because it's not it. It's not the whole story.
So you have to go back to school for something like this? How does one get into this line of
money coaching? Yeah, I did. I got a certificate. So I decided to go to money coaching school. You don't have to do that, but every person who was like, they call themselves a money coach, I'll go, oh, how did you train? And they'll go, oh, well, I've made money. And I go, that's great. And I know this because I had to study, and that is not every money psychology is going to follow you. So do you know how to work with different money psychologies? And the answer is no. Because they don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they don't even, there's no frame of reference there at all.
Right. They're looking, that's why it's so easy to pick people out that are hunters for your money, because they're just looking for the next mark. They're very transactional. They want, I want this person, that's going to make, $2 million a year, and they're 55, and they want to, pull their 401k and do something crazy in crypto. It's like, well, yeah, there's plenty of people there. It's just a question of, do you make sense, and are you the right person for them? Because they might be able to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like these people that lost 40 pounds and now all of a sudden are like a weight loss coach and they start a business and everything. I'm like, well, you know how you lost weight. You don't really know how.
You don't understand systems around. Yeah.
Right.
Metabolism. So, and
we're all excited for you, but like, I'm good on your advice. So you've been doing this for a while. Like what does that world look like day to day now? Like how do people, I'm curious what the rainbow of humanity that comes to you looks like. I mean,
so I work primarily with couples and small business owners. And it's not that I can't work with an individual. Of course I do. But I often find where people seem to want money coaching the most is when they're at a crossroads. They cannot solve it. You know, they've already done their little SWOT analysis. They've done the pros and cons, and they keep being stuck in the same place. Like you said, the mosh pit. They don't have, like you said, they don't have the emotional lattice work, the cognitive architecture to know how to climb up and look, but they do know there's somebody who could show them. So when I work with couples, they're not actually interested in divorce, which a lot of people are like, wow. And it's like, why is that? Well, either they've decided they can't afford it, truth, or they decided like, hey, I actually kind of like this person. And I just want to not have to, you know, avoid our money conversations and figure out how are we going to retire or put the kids through college and do this in a way that's going to make sense for us, because we're good in many other ways, but we don't need to keep this conflict up.
Yeah.
And those couples have actually gone through sometimes like a really scary situation. Like one of them might have had a disease like cancer. Sometimes it's addiction, and they're really working hard at trying to repair. And some relationships are like that. They can. And then other times it's just like, hey, we're like 50-ish and we are just in two separate worlds. And we know that we've got to figure out where we're going to retire to and what is that going to look like and how are we going to handle the assets and all that other good stuff. So it's always a complex thing, and financial planners can give you the numbers, but they cannot tell you what to do. They're not allowed to by law, and I don't certainly do that either. But what I do is give them the tools, so the communication, improve their decision making, explain to them about like, hey, you know, when you say this, this is how it's probably coming across. Is this what you really mean? And they're like, no, it's not what I mean. Oh. We've got to change that, you know? So that's when I talk about those emotional and behavioral patterns that have to be rewired. With business owners, you know, we might be very good at solving problems for our customers and our clients, and then we forget to take that same initiative and problem solving that we need to put back in the business. And again, sometimes that's hard because you're like, I should just run a coaching business like the way anyone else does. I'm like, well, no.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I like same thing with IT. Like every IT business is not the same. You know, same thing with healthcare companies, like large ones. They're not all the same. And that's a lot of it has to do with the people that work there, but also what they're doing, like the mission, vision and values of, you know, and the purpose of their company. Like it's just, and not everything's the same. And that's scary because if everything was the same, we could just grit it and move on, but we can't.
Yeah. And I've noticed that it's very, very, very easy for me to solve other people's problems. It is much different to solve my own. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. A, I'm closer to the problem, but I think also to your point, I've never wanted to be like cut from the same cloth as everybody else in my position. You know what I mean? Like I want to be different because like in my view, the thing I'm doing is a cure to what they're doing wrong. And so I think a lot of times I'm working in uncharted territories, and it would be nice to have like an ally in that, but it's hard to say, hey, could you also think in 12 dimensions at the same time with me on this problem? And people are like, yeah, because even I've had financial planners over the years and stuff, and like a lot of them wanted, here's my formula. This percentage of the portfolio goes into this kind of thing, and this goes into that. And if things get off, they're like, we're going to do a rebalancing, or I forget what they call it. But anyway, like, and I'm like, well, why? Like, why would we do, you know, and it's always a formula. It almost always came down to a formula. Right. And I'm like, okay, I guess. And it, you know, it's not always bad per se, but
they're not hearing you. Yeah.
It's lacking any imagination. And my whole world is built on imagination. Right. Like, it's like, I'm good at what I do, not because I'm good at it, because it's like, it's a good idea. Not always, but like more often than not, like the thought to make it successful went into it, and that's what makes us different from other companies that do what we do. If I put everybody into a formula, I wouldn't even be in the same continent as where I'm at right now in terms of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's part of our genius. Like we're so good at maybe, you know, the actual like we call it SME, subject matter expertise. You're
Yeah.
so good at this, but then when it comes to the money piece, like there has to be some type of stability or repeatability so you can kind of track it for your future, because that's what the planner's looking for. It's looking for patterns. And if you don't have that or you're not interested in that, they can only say, well, then is the plan only for under 3 years or under 6 months, or what is it that you're doing? And there are times that people are just throwing money at the wall. Like they don't even want to think that far ahead. They're like, listen, it's all going to work out in 10 years. I don't care. And it's like, well, that's one way to do it,
That
but
is
it
one way
may
to do
cost
it.
you.
I almost feel like that's the majority of people, though. Is that true? You think more people are planning than
They're attempting.
I'm just going wild and just saying fuck it?
No, I think people are attempting to plan. I do. I really think people do attempt to plan. So a good example of this is how quickly can you pay off your credit cards? For the average American, they can pay it off in about 13 months. The problem is like they go right back to it. So people attempt to have some type of reining on their chaos, but it won't stop until you rewire those behaviors, or you hit like the wall finally, like something happens financially speaking, and you're like, oh, I don't have a job. I can't spend the same way. Or, oh my gosh, everything we've got, on credit cards has got to go to cancer treatment. It's just what people have to deal with when they have those kinds of like woke moments of like, oh, this is a very different world. Then they do attempt to, do what they can to make it better. They will pull money out of their 401k. They will liquidate the 401k if they have to. And I feel like that shouldn't be the shameful thing that it is in those circumstances. What I think is actually better is to show people how to make money and then keep it.
Yeah.
And that's not taught enough.
That second half is eluding me all the time. Is there a you touched on this kind of like how people have this relationship with money, and I guess their money personality. Is there you could talk about Jungian archetypes and things like that. Is there like a number? Is there an understanding everyone's unique and their situation's unique, but is there like a group of them?
Yeah, so there are actually, I've trained under like actual money archetypes. That was part of what I did to kind of pull people out of bad and good, if you will, because that's how most people think about their money. But what I will say is that there are creative forces to your money brain, and then there's destructive forces.
Okay. And
so destructive forces look like worrying, complaining, whining, obsessing, fearing, everything's going to blow up, which is a lot of people are like, oh, I saved everything, that I possibly could because I thought I was going to need it till the bitter end. And they actually didn't have a good or happy, healthy life. Or they did save, but, it was at the expense of their home. Like they didn't do anything to upkeep it. So there you go. Now all the money's got to go there.
Right.
And then there are like real strong creative forces that if you want to use them, so it's like learning to balance not just sort of the inside and the outside of the money. So what do I mean by that? The outside of money is actually taking action steps. So it's like, hey, if you want to have more guests on your podcast and monetize it, what would that look like for you? Like you'd have different models and you'd figure that out. If you wanted to call in bigger, they call it whale clients, the large ones, the ones that you really love, then you would do that. You would find the ways of like making sure that you're in front of them, having the conversations, maybe improving your sales conversations, things of that nature. And then it's like, what about the internal piece? Well, the internal piece is knocking down the fear. The internal piece is having to face, like, why do you keep going to this, empty pothole, but yet it's the one that's big and you know it well. It's hard to get out of, which is your worry. You just worry over the details because it's Friday and you thought by now you would have all this money in your bank account. And it's like, listen, if you do everything right, the supply will show up. You know what I mean? And so when people often get into trouble, especially with money, they don't always tell friends and family because they're embarrassed. They try to fix it on their own. And a lot of times it gets worse. And so that's a choice, right? If they would have said, hey, I'm having money troubles, I'm not asking you for cash. I'm asking you, like, what are your thoughts? Or, what do you think? Or maybe I'll get on a free webinar, or maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that. Like there's a way to problem solve this, because my experience has taught me that the people who are successful in life, like whatever that looks like, I'm not even talking about dollar amounts, are the ones that choose to find a method through their madness. They're going to find a way. They're not going to stay like, I guess this is it. We're hopeless. They're like, nope, there's a way to do this. And how is it usually done? Newsflash. People. People. Who do you know? And it always comes down to that. Like if you are needing to get larger clients or you need to get paid more, who do you know in your network? And people are like that's such an external thing. I don't want that. And it's like, well, if you don't know, people, or you don't have strangers that you can talk to on a regular basis, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, I have this argument with people all the time. People come to me. I'm the worst person, by the way, to come to with problems like that because I'm like the absolute worst because within 5 minutes, this is the arc of the story. Oh my God, tell me all about the problem. If they haven't taken an action or acknowledgement of forward momentum by like that 5th minute, I'm like, look, I'm done with this conversation. Like this is the only way forward. And it always is the same. You have to do something. It can come down to that. Like, right. And all these stupid excuses that they keep throwing back, I'll take it for a little while. But as soon as like that 5-minute mark, I'm like, it's a hard out. I'm like, you know what? You're not really interested in solving a problem. You're interested in complaining about a problem. And professional victims are not friends of mine. Right. Like,
there
so
you go.
You need to like move your shit somewhere else. Cause I'm not, and so I'm not a friendly face after like the 6-minute mark. We're not having a fun conversation anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's good that you know that about yourself because a lot of people are just overwhelmed. They don't even know where to begin, or they're like, why the hell didn't you save? Or why didn't you do that? And it's like, it's easy again to sit there on the outside and judge.
Sure.
And it's also having to understand that people have the tools to do what they need to do with their money. It's just a question of, do they feel they have the energy to do it? And that's what often holds people back.
And when people start asking me though, like probative questions a few minutes into this story, I'll talk to you all day.
Yeah.
Like if you're making progress, if we are making progress towards a solution, like I will talk to you. There's no limit. Right. But like I'm sure you know right away if this person is going to be a brick wall that we have to chisel away one little stone at a time, or if you're like, this is a floodgate, I got this person's going to be super receptive. Like if somebody comes to me, I'm not a professional coach. If somebody comes to me asking me a question, I'm happy to give you an answer. But if you're not going to listen to anything and you're just going to put up excuses why this is impossible, well, then you should go find somebody.
But then I don't think, I almost feel like there's a come to Jesus moment for people that would be searching for some help in this arena, right? It's not, they've done all the things, they've bitched about it, they've gone through the 5 stages of it, and now they need to do something, and it's, how many of them are kind of coming to you where it's like, look, we're going to lose the house, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose that. Actually, versus
hardly any. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. So this is another sort of little fallacy about money coaching. You should get a money coach when you're broke. No, you should get a money coach when you have money.
Right.
And why is that? Because you have money, more money will come. You have money, more money will come.
All you're doing is giving me an argument against capitalism again.
Yeah. Because what people think, a lot of times they're like, oh, it's your spending. But like when we sometimes get into why people have lost their jobs and their homes, sometimes it isn't something they personally did. It was just a lot of things showed up all at once. Like somebody got sick, they lost their job. They're doing what they can with the creditor to keep the house. But, the credit cards, they just don't care anymore. Well, those are all money choices. And I'm not saying those are great ones, but that's
what happens. But if it is something that falls on them, disease, layoffs, those kind of things, clearly they don't have that money anymore. And then what would coaching look like then? Or is that not something you would advise for?
No. I mean, so again, we get into, if you want to change your behaviors and your thoughts and your patterns, there are ways to do this. And it's just a question of, do you have the time and the energy? So people sometimes will go to the library and get a free book on money mindset, and that'll get them to a certain point. And then they're going to go do something else. Other times people will, get a handout from a family member and then go do something else. It depends on really what's driving your money brain. Is it fear that this is it and you're going to die from this thing? Then you might be really motivated to get out of it. But if you're like, this is what we've been going through for the last 10 years, you're probably kind of numb to it. And that's going to make a lot of hard decisions for you, maybe in the future. Like, I've met women who absolutely didn't have any savings for their retirement because they spent all the money they did have on their kids because that was their best investment as they saw it. And I would never say, don't spend money on your kids. I mean, like, when I say they spent money on their kids, they made sure that they made it to sports, they had food, they had what they needed. And so when it came for her retirement, then she was like, I'm probably going to have to live with you because I don't, I've got the house, but once the house goes, like there's nothing else, And sometimes people are like, what? I had no idea. Why didn't she save better? It's like, well, first of all, she had 3 kids and she was a single mom. And, or she was divorced and she didn't get a lot of extra money. And, her job didn't pay her all this extra. And there are reasons for that too. But, it's just like, okay, well, how do we change our mindset about, like, again, you want to bring in more money then? And how is that going to work? Well, you probably need to look at it and say, like, how can I do this differently? Wouldn't it be nice to expect money to show up instead of like, oh, I hope it does?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that entrepreneurship too, business owners, I think are a unique class of issue because, the reason you're an entrepreneur in the first place at some level or another is that you want to control over your destiny, right? Like you want to control over the trajectory. The narrative is yours, but with that comes great responsibility.
Matt, I honestly thought I was just the sadist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. My kids early on, they're like, oh, it's great. You don't have a boss. I'm like, no, that's not true. I have more bosses than anybody's parents, because on top of the normal ones, like the IRS and the law, I also have kids. I have a marriage. I have businesses. I've got partners. I've got, like clients. I mean, I got more bosses than I know what to do with. Like, so,
right.
And I almost feel that adds an element of like, hey, if I don't know how much I'm getting into the business, that always adds like that other cog of uncertainty to like planning, right? I mean, you can't, Matt's heard me bitch about insurance companies in the last 6 months. And just now I'm starting to see like, oh, look, checks are showing back up. And to tell you the truth, I don't have a safety net. Why? Because I'm doing the same thing you've been talking about. I've been paying for my kids to do stuff. I'm taking care of things that I really have been behind the scenes for a long time. And it's a pain in the ass, man.
Yeah. And it's much easier. I'm not a parent. I'm also a parent, but in my business, the analog to children is everyone else eats before I do. And that's kind of also not a great mentality. I mean, luckily, business supports it, but like I literally am the last person. And when you talk to other financial people, a lot of them are like, pay yourself first. It's like the cardinal rule. Like, pay yourself first and then everything else comes afterwards. And I'm like, I just can't do that. But like, from a healthy mindset, that's probably not the healthiest mindset, right? Like
I mean, here's how I heard this the other day and I thought, oh, that's a great point. So when lionesses hunt because the lionesses do all the hunting, in a lion pride, well, the better there for other things, but the lioness do all the hunting. But what the lioness do is they actually feed themselves and then they go feed their cubs. And I remember thinking that makes so much sense from a survival standpoint because they have to have enough energy to get home.
Correct.
They have to have enough energy to, ward off predators or competitors, anything like that. And they're not going to do that when they're at 0, especially after a fresh kill.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But that's a hard thing to keep in mind, right? Like, I mean, it's different if you're a lion, right? Like that's built into your biology. We have the amazing capacity to override our biology. Like,
if you choose to, yes, you could.
Yeah, we're ninjas at this skill set.
Or you could find, a different way of looking at it. Like, hey, if I pay myself first, whatever that amount is, if I pay myself first and then make sure my kids are okay, I know that I will have the business net, like you just said, I have the net that I need for the business, and I will have the things I'm going to need in the future to make sure the businesses run, or they become my legacy, meaning I can either sell them and take money from that, or you can get paid. There's different ways. Because that's the other thing a lot of entrepreneurs don't always understand. Like, you work so hard to build your list or your client base or whatever it is, your customer base. And it's like, when you're ready to retire, that is part of your retirement, is to make sure that that's going to still feed you.
Right. Yeah. And and it's really hard to see all that. I think one of the things that I'm appreciating later in life is that, having people tell you the things that you just didn't pay attention to. I mean, I started my business when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I didn't start an official 401k until I was 40, I don't think. Like,
that's okay.
No, I know. It's not that it's tragic, but it's like, it's not that I couldn't have. It's just that I didn't have somebody being like, hey, you know what? Like, you should maybe get this into focus at some point. Right.
Yeah.
I did it kicking and screaming, and then like my efficiency brain went crazy. I'm like, shit, I should have started this when I was 20. Now and then I'm like compounding the math in my head. And I'm like, and I'm like, that's not healthy either. But it's so hard to keep a focus on every problem that could be going on. And like, it's finance and this and that and the other. Cause finances is only one piece of our world. Right.
Right.
I'm busy worrying about all the pieces. Finance is one of them. And it's just, when you look at each one in isolation, it's easy to be like, oh, I could be doing better here. I'm like, yeah, but this is step 12 out of 30 that you have to do before breakfast every day. Right. Like, it's like, it's tough. It's real tough.
Yeah, definitely.
So like, what's the tenure of somebody working with you look like? Are you sort of like diagnostic and then here's what you do, and then you kind of massage a problem into place or iron out a workflow, and then they go on their merry way? People work with you long term. How does it work?
So what I do is I have what I call a money mentorship program. And this is for entrepreneurs that want to come in and ask somebody a money question without feeling embarrassed or ashamed, because that happens all the time. So I do that. And that's like a 6-month program. You learn skills, what you could be doing with your business, reworking, your whole, like you said, step 12. I'm on step 12 every morning. It's like, what if you don't need 12 steps ahead?
Right.
Just saying. Like, what if that's a lie you keep telling yourself,
Yeah.
And then when I work with couples, it's usually just under 90 days. And then if they want to keep seeing me for additional maintenance, they certainly can. So I work with people who want a longer term relationship, because it really takes about a year when you work with your money to really turn it around. And why is that? Because your money's not going to be in the same place. I mean, think about like what your money's looked like in the year of 2025. Was it where it started in January? The answer should be no. I would be very surprised. You're like, it's exactly the same. I'm like, how are you doing it? Are you not working?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the other part of the entrepreneur, 24 to 25 to 26 could be 3 wildly different profiles, right? That you don't.
Yes.
Oh, mine definitely were.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Every year I'm like, look, we had the best year ever. And then you look back and you're like, I didn't. Actually, it was an okay year. But because last year or the year before was so worse, I forgot about the previous good year. So you end up getting in these like, I'm doing great or I'm doing horrible. But you look at it and you're like, oh, that perspective is only based on 6 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not, like that perspective, not, I have a almost 27-year-old company.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the fuck my finances looked like 25 years ago.
Well, you had different values and outcomes too, right?
Exactly.
You had kids, your wife is in a different position. All of that changes so rapidly.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's what I'm saying though. That's the point. It's like, it's impossible to track this sanely because there's so many variables influencing it. And
I think there has to be some kind of plan in place to understand that, right? Here's what I'm going. Hey, I tried investing in this, that didn't work or something like that. Believe me, I have plenty of those. But it's like, oh no, you dumped all this money into this year. And that's because you had what you thought was extra. I love that fucking thing. I thought I had extra.
Yeah. Or my personal favorite is that, like a lot of times business coaches and financial experts will be like, well, if July of last year, 2024, this is what you were doing in your business. And it's like, well, that's good to know if you're trying to track yourself over a decade.
Yeah.
But it's not really helpful if you're like, man, I'm up to my ears and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Like that doesn't necessarily like give you more information. Why? Because it's just data.
Yeah.
And how you feel about that data might be like, well, that's nice.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I think we don't think about that enough.
No. And I think that like for me, the cyclical nature of reality is always funny because you're like, oh, I'm in this terrible problem. I'm never going to get out. And then you're like, wait a minute. You accidentally find a piece of paper or a file on your computer. You're like, oh shit, I did this exact same problem 16 years ago.
I love that.
Oh, look,
it's never been this bad before. And it's like, don't you remember? You were getting your teeth kicked in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's really hard to keep in perspective for sure. For me, and I can't imagine I'm unique.
Well, and I'm sure that speaks to the psychology behind all of this, where like, every fire is the worst fire you've ever been in.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So what, I guess what are people usually saying before they engage you? Like, I guess I'm looking for watchwords. Like what do people, when do you think are a good time for people to be like, hey, I got somebody you should call? Right. Like, I mean,
so a good time is, we were trying to figure out what to do. We don't even know what type of financial planner we should use. We know that our communication isn't that great. That's a good time for couples to consider me. And of course, they can meet with me for 30 minutes and we can chat and see, what they think. Sometimes it's just individuals. They want to come on their own because they just know they've got another situation going on and that works for them. When it comes to business owners, they're like, yeah, I guess I do have more money questions every week. And what I do is I just repeat the past and that's why I'm not ahead.
Yeah.
That's somebody that's would be a great, conversation.
That kind of hits a little close to home.
Okay, Tom.
I'll give you a call after this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably will. I often
like,
network with our guests.
Yeah. Yeah, that would hurt. Yeah, no. Those are predictable, I guess. Yeah, those make sense.
I mean, they seem very universal too. Like those sound like all very real, common occurrences for people.
Yeah.
But you'd be amazed when we talked about earlier how people push back and say, no, I don't have that problem.
I wouldn't be amazed at all. I'm surprised anybody fucking calls you at all.
But whether that's ego or their inability to see themselves, without biases. I think there's a lot of that, certainly, right?
Yeah.
Self-awareness is a thing.
Yeah. It's all about growing your money and making sure it works for you. That's what that's kind of my thing is I want to make sure that your money works for you, which is different than getting rich. It's different than just being financially successful, whatever that looks like to you. It is about making your money work for you. So when you need it, you can do what you need to do with it. And that actually reduces your stress, improves your health, and makes you happier to be around. So you're not so
that sounds great.
Yeah.
And it's funny because everyone's like, that question, how much do I need to retire? You've probably heard this a million times.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
could be $1 million. It could be $2 million.
It could be 100 million. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. But the thing was, with me, I'm like, I don't have a number. I just don't want money to be a focal point of my life.
So then your answer is very simple. It's as soon as your assets can afford your lifestyle is when you are ready to retire.
Yeah.
And a good way to get that answer is to talk to a financial planner who can say, hey, Matt, it's going to happen when you're 62 if you do the following. Then you know you can retire. Or no, you're not going to retire at 62. It's going to be 70 for the following reasons. So you can go, okay, good. Now I know.
Right now, I've got an answer.
I said this when I did the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. They said, "What's your exit strategy?" And I said, "You see these scrubs I'm wearing right now? I'm getting buried in these."
Yeah. They're like,
and they're like, "You don't have to do that." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, I thought what? We are talking a different language here. Right?
Wait, we didn't get to the money section yet. You'll see why.
Yeah.
You'll see why.
So where do we send people to find you? This has been fun. I always find these conversations intriguing, but this one in particular, I think hits a broader scope of our audience just because everybody's got money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got them. So if you got money, you got something
globalmoneycoach.com is good. Okay. And also, like, I'm on LinkedIn under my name, obviously Jeannie Dougherty. And I also own my own name on a website, jeanniedougherty.com. I mean, come on. So because part of my money story, as I said, I wanted to impact people differently. I noticed during the pandemic that more caregivers were dying at a much, much faster rate, like up to 40%. So that includes parents as well as taking care of aging loved ones. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I said, I think I better help some caregivers out there. And this year it's my 3rd annual caregiver conference. And we're talking about how to stay sane in an insane world.
Yeah.
But that's happening in November. So don't worry about that. But yeah, that's kind of what I do is I'm like, listen, how can I help and make a difference and use my money in a way that makes it work?
Yeah. That's interesting. The caregiver thing's an interesting niche market for sure. Cause that is definitely something that we've all experienced. Look, I mean, we're all plus or minus the same age here, right? Like, so we all have, friends, relatives that have parents that are aging and like, like this is a very familiar story to people in this bracket, right? So it's definitely, and with all the boomers, systemically falling off the game board, as it were, that this is a relevant topic. Like a lot of people are caregivers right now.
Shuffling off the mortal coil, as it were.
Shuffling off. Yeah. Well, Jeannie, thank you so much again. It was awesome meeting you again, talking to you here.
Thanks. This was really enlightening.
I really appreciated that you guys took a chance on me. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. Great. Well, listen, have a great weekend and talk to you soon.
Yeah, you might be hearing from me soon.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom. I'm prepared.
All right. Later, guys.
Okay.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.